Welcome to the E-Show with Neil Ravin. Founded in 2013, the EHL has become the college placement leader on the East Coast. Sit back and learn more about the next step in your junior hockey career.
Welcome to the E-Show, presented by the Penalty Box Foundation. The Foundation's mission centers around their daily motto, we take care of our own, as they help out all of those within the hockey community who've experienced a catastrophic event. Learn more at penaltyboxfoundation.org. What's up? My name is Neil Ravin, and this is episode number 167 of the E-Show. On this week's episode, we head back to the South Division and feature Team Maryland. Heading into their sixth season in the EHL, Team Maryland was one game away from reaching the Frozen Finals for the first time in franchise history this past March. Jake Basile chats with Josh Fusco about the 22-23 season and the run his team went on down the stretch. Backed by one of the best goaltending duos in the league, this past season can be labeled as the best year to date for the program, albeit while battling it out in arguably the toughest division in the league. Fusco reflects on how proud he was of his players and how the South won't be getting easier anytime soon.
Hello, E-Show. It's time for another installment of our Coach's Corner chat. Today, we're traveling south to talk with head coach and general manager of Team Maryland, Josh Fusco. Coach Fusco is an E-Show veteran, starting with the league back in 17-18 with the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Knights. He has been with Team Maryland since their second season in 1920. He's a product of both junior hockey and NCAA hockey himself, playing college game at Finlandia University. Coach, thanks for joining us today.
Hey, buddy. How's it going? Thank you.
So we'll start off with the end of the last season here with Maryland, winning 5 straight and taking down PHC in the play-in game, then knocking off the 1 seed before eventually losing in 3 before making it to program, having a chance to make it to Providence. So how were you guys able to find your best game at the end of the year?
I think it's just that we, as a whole, players and staff and everybody involved, was on the same page as it's a process, and that's something that I preach from day one, and something that I preach to these young men, like, your hockey career is a process and everything about it's a process, and what you go through, you got to trust the process. And we knew we had the right pieces and the right guys, and everybody was on board, and we had the right locker room, the right culture. And we went through our ups and downs throughout the year, and whether it was systems or analytics and points and stats and all that stuff, and obviously the standings with our division. But I think everybody just bought in and just knew who we were, knew our identity, knew that we had to stick to the game plan, knew that we had to put the work in, and the work couldn't stop. And I really credit the boys, and I credit my assistant coaches, going back to Matt Reed and Ray Kizzy, and I had a couple ex-TM players that are now in college or in pros, like Luke Richards and Joseph Donahue. They helped out a lot throughout the season, and when they could come in town or they could be involved in some way, they wanted to be involved and help out, and whether it was video and helping out with the boys. So, we really dialed in. We kind of took it like, with the division, it's you're not winning it tomorrow, and you're not going to win it in 2 games or 3 games. And kind of how it went down the stretch there, it was like a 2-month battle, and all of us coaches, we would talk all the time about it. Like, our playoffs started well before the playoffs started. So it was kind of one of those things where the guys, and they embraced it, like our players really embraced it, and they embraced that battle and that fight. And I think they fed off it. And look, how it ended, it was definitely disappointing and a little bit of a heartbreak. And I think it was more of a heartbreak because how close that group became. That locker room, I would say that team was definitely one of the closest teams I've ever had coaching all across the board. And I've said it to people, like, I think even as a player myself, I've never seen a group so close and so tight. They wanted it for each other. They wanted it for the age outs. They wanted it for the younger guys. They wanted it for the billet families and the parents and the organization. And, that's something that we preach here, and I preach that, you're here to do a job, and this is your life. And they really took it to the table. They really put all the chips on the table and said, hey, here we are. We're ready to go.
And you mentioned standings a couple of times in that, and I talked to JJ Creighton at Exeter Showcase, and I asked him about the standings in the South Division, and he said, for us, it doesn't matter where we end up. We're playing the same teams regardless. We're comfortable no matter what. Why in that division does the seeding not matter? Because you guys were the 4 seed knocking off the 1 and then taking the 3 seed 2-3 games. So it was the underdog technically that made it to the end.
Yeah. I mean, you kind of knew it from day one, Jake. Like, you knew that, especially with the season prior of how things shaped up and how they went, you kind of went into the season knowing that everybody was going to load up, and everybody, you're like, okay, the 87s are going to be good this year. Where the little Flyers going to be at? Where's ProTech? PHC's coming in. They were an unknown, but knowing JP and the crew that he had coming in and seeing some of the players he had, like, you knew it wasn't going to be easy. And I think, that makes it for a good competition, right? And that makes it for what our league is. Our league is tight, all across the board. And yes, selfishly, and I'll speak for the South. Selfishly, we do say the South was the best, and we were the beast this year. But we had our battles with the North, and we had our battles with all those teams up there, and games could have went either way. And I think that's all across the board for everybody in our division. We fought it out with the best, and you couldn't really put a number on where you wanted to be. It's like you beat one day, and the next day you can turn around and lose. You can blow somebody out one day, and then the next day, a week later, you get blown out by them. It was just one of those things. And I think as a whole, as a division, like we said, like that's what's going to help you in the end. I mean, you look at hockey and how it shapes out at the end of the day, right? Look at the NHL playoffs right now, and look at college hockey and some of the higher levels of junior hockey. It's you get put through your tests, and how you come out at the end. It's a battle right to the finish, and it kind of just tests you as a group. And obviously we wanted to win first place. You want first place in your division. You want that glory and that satisfaction. But it got tight, and we were battling right there to the end, and we lost a couple key games. I think two of the biggest key games that we lost was to Philly Hockey Club right before. We had that 3-game set with ProTech, and then we win in. We lose in OT, we win, then we lose again in a shootout, and then you go into the Philly Hockey Club and you drop 2, and then you turn around and you beat the little Flyers, and you're like, okay, you have 5 games left here. And it was crazy because it was like you went out, and we literally counted, how that was going to play out. All right, if we lose 1 game, that means Philly has to lose this many games. If we do, and then we won out, and it was like the magic number was like 2, I think. And they went down right to the wire. They had 4 games. They had 5 games where they had to lose 2 games, and Philly was just on a tear. Like, they were the same way. They hit the stride at the right time, and they were clicking on all cylinders, and they were a tough hockey club. And I think I said that early in the year to the group was, we had a lot of success against them early in the season, and I think, that was the biggest key is, they're a team, they always come back and they find ways, and Mark does a great job with those boys and always has, and I give him a lot of credit. And he had a lot of good players on that team, good quality kids, a lot of kids that have a lot of character and fought and battled. And as bitter as that handshake line was, it was also nice to shake some of those kids' hands and tell them congrats and see the way they finished. It was kind of special to me. And, like I said, that's where you kind of put some of that heartbreak aside and know that if pieces fell the way they fell.
The South definitely has a case to make that they were the best division this season. They're certainly the most even, so the most parity of any of the divisions, but also the most within division games. So how do you think that's connected in terms of getting so familiar with the other teams?
Uh, that's kind of tough for me to answer, just because I've been in the division for so long. And obviously, I have good relationships with everybody in the division. It's you just know what these guys bring. You know what Mark brings to the table. You know what Adam brings to the table every day, and Terry. He did what he did in the division, and he put the team together that he put together, and the relationship I built with JP with PHC. Now he's gonna be with Providence, and I'm glad he's still in the league and a part of us. That's a tough one for me to answer. I mean, it's the expectations are always high, I think, and we expect a lot. And um, as far as the South being dominant and everything else, that's just who we are. We expect a lot of our players, and we want the best for our players, but we want the best for our organizations. And I think the big thing is just, yeah, everybody kind of showboats and wants to say they're the best, right? At the end. So, um, it just makes it just at the end of the day, what it boils down to is the parity of the league. Like there's no weak spot. There's no weak opponent. There's no you're gonna blow somebody out. I mean, obviously it happens here and there, but it makes for why our league is what it is. It makes for why our players move on. It makes for why our players get recognized. It makes for why people want to watch our teams play and watch our players. And every game's a test. Every day is a test. The preparation is a test for us coaches. Like we have to do our job every day. We have to operate a certain way, and really at the end of the day, like, make sure we're taking care of our players and doing the right things for them.
Looking at your players and the way the roster was constructed this year, two age-out goaltenders who were certainly in the better half of goaltenders in the league. Not a lot of teams are in a situation where they have to manage guys heading into college the next year, sharing the net, but you managed to do it almost evenly between both Berkey and Crosby. So how difficult was that to manage?
I'm going to be honest with you. It was actually pretty easy. And you know what? I say that I say that because I credit the two boys. They were tight. They were like brothers. And believe it or not, like, I think what made it really easy was they're both Maryland boys, and they grew up underneath Jason Wolf, who is our goaltending coach, and he works with the Maryland Black Bears and throughout our whole organization as a whole, with Youngstown and everything. And he's Crosby and Berkey were products of him. And I thought about that. Like, obviously that's something that when you're building your roster, like, I'm a firm believer you build from the goal out. And knew Berkey was coming back, and Crosby kind of just fell in my lap. And obviously he's a Wolf product and one of Wolfie's boys. And when I first saw video on him and watched him, I was like, wow, like, you have a two-headed monster here. And how do you battle that? Like, and I won't lie, like, you go into the beginning of the season, you're like, how do you do this? How do you take care of both of them, essentially, right? Knowing that either one can take control and either one can be the top guy. But they were tight. They were brothers. They battled for each other. They wanted it for each other. There was never a question mark on really who was number one, who was number two. They pushed each other in practices. They pushed each other. They made each other work. They wanted each other to be better. They put the time in with Jason, and they were focused. They were focused. They wanted to win. They wanted to be here for a certain reason. They put a lot of things aside, and and they won us a lot of hockey games. They won us a lot of hockey games, and I think that's just the camaraderie. It's you look at goaltending situations at times, and when one guy had to win, if it was Crosby, Berkey was the first one off that bench congratulating him. And they go out for pregame or whatever. They were the first ones patting each other on the back and saying, "Yo, let's go." And when times got tough throughout the season, they had each other's backs and were right there for each other, helping each other out. So it wasn't there was no question marks, and even in the playoffs, like you kind of said, like, all right, well, who's healthy, who's fresh, who feels good, and we had conversations with them, and they never held back. They were very vocal, and yeah, I'm tired, coach, or yeah, I need this, and I remember a conversation I had. It was like, no, he can go, and I'll say that like it was Berkey, and Berkey said no, like he can go, he's got it, and then turn around another game and have the conversation with Crosby, and Crosby's like, it doesn't matter who you put in, the team's going to play for either one.
Yeah.
And like I want to add to that, Jake, like Riley Mostowski, he came in essentially as a practice guy, and there was no guarantees, and Riley really bought into the system and really bought into Crosby and Berkey, and they did a tremendous job helping Riley, and being a mentor to him, and showing him what junior hockey's about, and the battle every day that you have to go through. And we were in the Apple Core series, and Berkey was a little banged up, and I remember we had a conversation, and it was late in the game. We were winning. I can't remember, 4-1, I think it was. And, Crosby wanted Riley to come in and get in the pipes. And, I held off. I think we went down. There was matching penalties. It was 4-4, and there was like 2.5 minutes left. And like Crosby was literally coming to the top of the circles for me to take him out to get Riley in. And then the second game, they both walked into my office and said to me, like, yeah, give him a shot, give him an opportunity. And that just shows the character of those two boys. What their teammates meant to them, what the team meant to them as a whole, and where our team was at. They were, and I'm not afraid to say it, like they'll be really missed, and I don't think you'll ever find a goaltending tandem like that ever again.
And on the other side of things, while you guys were older in net, you were younger up front, one of the youngest forward groups in the league. So from a coaching perspective, what is it like dealing with a lot of guys who are in juniors for the first time, and how much pressure did that put on your leadership core to kind of guide those guys?
Well, right off the bat, I think we had the right leadership. We had the right guys wearing the letters. We had guys that were passionate, and guys that were there for the right reasons, and guys that had good character, and accepted everybody, and wanted everybody there, and wanted everybody on the same page, and knew how to lead the right way. And I think a big thing is, you can lead vocally, but you also need to lead by example. And we talk about accountability a lot, and our leaders were the most accountable people on the team, and I think they did a tremendous job. I think, halfway through the season, at least halfway through the season, if not earlier, you kind of sat there and said, like, you're no longer rookies anymore, to the younger guys. You're veterans, and the way they were playing and the way they operated on a daily basis, like they were veteran guys. And I don't think, you look at our lineup and who was going and who was playing down the stretch. A lot of the younger guys were involved, and they had a big part in our success, and a big part in the run that we made. And, like I said, like at that point in time, what's a rookie, what's a veteran? And that was just a group that we had, and our leadership did a tremendous job, showing those guys the right path, and putting them on the right path, and I believe in themselves, right? Like A lot of players when they're young and they're rookies, they go through ups and downs, and they hit that roadblock, and they have their struggles in a hockey season, and veterans do too. But it helps when you have the right leaders and the right people in that room, and when you have guys sitting there that believe in you on a daily basis, like that was critical, and I think that was critical for the younger players.
And the forwards as a whole were pretty even in terms of production. You had 11 players in between 10 and 20 points. So down the lineup, producing consistently. Did you guys consider that a point of strength for you guys, that everyone was kind of chipping in their own way?
Yeah, absolutely. You kind of you look at it, and I remember we sat there and said at one point in time as a staff, like, we don't have a guy over 30 points, or, we don't have this or we don't have that. But then you look at the numbers and you look at how grouped everybody was. Um, and again, essentially making a lineup, right? Like, you could put almost anybody with anybody on at some point in time, and it didn't matter. Like, they played the right way, and once they found and stuck to the game plan of what worked, and where our success was coming from, especially in the stretch there, like, it didn't matter who you had on the ice. It didn't matter who you had together. And when you can have a lot of parity like that, like, it helps. You don't have to rely on two or three guys. You don't have to rely on one line or one power play unit. You don't have to rely on certain defensemen. Obviously relied on Berkey and Crosby, but yeah, it was interesting, because that's also something that I think in my time here in the league, yeah, I haven't had. We've always had guys that have been really far and above others in points. And it was definitely a change of pace, change of mentality for me as a coach. And it was also nice to see. And really, like, I mean, selfishly, I want to sit there and say, like, that means that we're doing the right things for our players, and they're all progressing, right, and they're all playing the right way and doing the right things. I don't know if that's the case, but you know, it was definitely and it made it hard. It made it hard. It definitely made it hard. Making the lineup, but that's something that you tell these guys, and for them to have success at the next level, whether it's college or pro hockey, or higher level junior hockey, like Mo Phillips with the NA, it's you're gonna have those moments where you're in or out of the lineup, where you have to battle every day to make a lineup position. And we kind of structured it to where if it's tough to make the lineup and you're battling every day to make a lineup, that's a good thing for the team. And that's kind of the mentality that we took with it, and it pushed guys. It really did. It pushed guys. It made them better. It made them, want to be that difference maker. Made them want to be the guy that scores the goal to win the game. Made them want to be the guy that blocks a shot to kill a big PK and win the hockey game. Makes them want to be the guy to get the empty netter there. I think that's the best way I can put that question.
Yeah.
It just created a lot of parity, and parity in a group is a good thing. And it also shows, again, like, kind of cliche, but shows how tight that group was.
And another big moment this season, both for the league and another notch in the South Division's belt, was South getting its own representation at the EHL All-Star College Series. You were one of the coaches when they took on Lebanon Valley, came back in the third period, fell short in overtime. I mean, that's got to be a pretty inspiring effort from our guys, wouldn't you say?
Oh yeah, that was I think we all say as hockey guys, and when coaches or players, you have these moments that are really special and that really stick with you throughout your life. That was something for me and I got to share that moment with Terry Watt, and we developed a really good relationship, and the players. It was really interesting to see, and I was a part of the EHL College Series, a couple years back. But to be able to take a division and go and play a college team, and have that success, it was pretty incredible. And, at certain times, yeah, like your breath was taken away as a coach, like your breath was taken away. And, um, but again, like it just goes to show you what our league is about. And it goes to show you the players that we have in this league and that are a part of it. Like they walked into that restaurant for a pregame meal and walked into that arena like we've been together for a whole season. And, the players all across the board accepted me and Terry. And, the whole time you knew it was right there. Like you kind of sat there and, like I said, in awe and took your breath away a little bit at times. But then at the same time, you're like, wow, like we have a chance to win this hockey game, and you have a chance to beat a college team. And again, selfishly, yeah, like we're like, we want to beat we want to be a college team here. And it was just important to see the boys have success and show that like our league is what it is, and our players have success and they can compete at the next level. I think everybody was going and at the end there, I can't remember, like we were down late in that game. We came back and then I want to say we pulled the goalie and got the sixth attacker out there and we ended up tying it up. And to see the reaction of the players, to see how they responded, to see everything about it, like it was incredible. And I think to play in the old Hershey arena was kind of incredible and a sight to see, and the nostalgia of that place. And I'll even say like my mom and my grandma came down. They were in the stands for the game, and it was just incredible all across the board. I love our league, and I love representing our league, and to be able to represent our league on that level is pretty special to me, and I think it was pretty special to everybody involved.
And what the South did was essentially open the door to more players now getting to represent the league now with the divisional college series games, two divisions together. So from your experience in that event, if you were a player, what would you be looking to get out of the event?
Really, honestly, it's about the experience of playing at that level. Essentially the players that you're going against are guys that have been at that same level, if not higher level junior. And it's an experience that nobody could ever take away from you. And I think that was one of the biggest messages that we told these boys. This is something that nobody can take from you. This is an experience that not everybody is getting. Obviously we're representing our league and I I'll say it. I definitely said it in the locker room at one point in time. I said, like we're the South. Like we're not just representing the league, we're representing the South. And I think that kind of sparked the mood up a little bit there. I want to say that was after the first period. But it's just an experience, and it's tough. It's a really tough path, and it's really tough to get to college hockey. And for these guys, it opened a lot of doors. After the game, LVC's coaches were talking to us about several players, and that's something too, right? Like you shift gears, like you're used to talking to college coaches about your players. And I think in that moment in time, like now you're talking about players from other teams, and not just other teams in the league, but your division that you battle every day and you see them every day. So they trust you, they trust your word, they want to know more about the kid than just that one game. And then there was a lot of coaches that watched it. There was a lot of coaches that dialed in and watched that, and me and Terry received a lot of phone calls about players, and again, not just our players that were on the team, but players from other teams. So for any kid, if we have the luxury of doing this again, then it expands to other divisions. It's an opportunity of a lifetime, and it's just like we tell our players, like you never know who's watching, and you never know when you're going to get that call and that opportunity. And these guys had something that was put on their plate, and it was their time to shine. And they arose to the occasion, really, and that's what hockey players do. They arrive when the lights are on, and I definitely as a coach, I'll never forget it, and it was an experience of a lifetime, and for those players, I hope it was as well.
Probably more than any other division, the South probably has a little bit more bad blood between the players just by nature of the schedule. So, did you see any difficulty in those guys putting that kind of aside for two or 3 days?
Like I, I'm no, I don't think so. And I think that's why me and Terry decided like we wanted to do a little team get together beforehand. A little meet and greet and yeah, you had a lot of guys in that dressing room that have done battle for 2 years or 3 years for that. There was a couple guys that have been in the league for a while, and they all know each other, and they all follow each other's Instagrams and their success, and so is player of the week, or whatever they may be doing in the division. And look, we're hockey players at the end of the day, so we have our egos and we have our mentality. But like I said before, you walked into that arena and it was like we were a team all year long, and yeah, like, guys sit together and they stick with their teammate or whatever it is, but like that's not how it was on the bench. That's not how it was on the ice. Um, it was like we've been together for a while, and it was a brotherhood, and it's credit to the players because yeah, it could be hard at times to swallow a little bit, and um, they were in it for the league. And that was the most important thing. They knew that this was a league thing, and this was a group thing. And yeah, individual success is important, but at the end of the day, like, it's kind of like what we say to our players here. You need everybody, and if the person on your left is having success, you're going to have success. If the person on your right and across from you is having success, you're going to have success. And if you're having success, that guy's going to have success. And it was kind of an unspoken agreement walking into that arena, and like I said, they had fun. They had a lot of fun, and there was a lot of camaraderie, and we were a team. It wasn't a group of individuals.
And one last thing I want to talk about from this past season was the expansion affiliate you guys had in the Premier with the Pennsylvania Huntsmen, especially somebody you mentioned earlier before, Matt Reed, Maryland
Yep.
AC, now moving on to coach their EHL team next season, their first year. So what is he going to bring to that organization and the relationship you guys had, with the expansion team this past season?
Yeah. Look, I am so ecstatic and happy for Matt Reed. I met Matt down here in Maryland, and we developed a relationship, and it's kind of funny how things are, and how the hockey world is. Matt's dad and my dad have had run-ins and ties dating way back in the day from hockey in central and New York, upstate New York, the North Country, and it's kind of funny how people gravitate to people and find each other, and we just had that chemistry right off the bat, and Matt became a really close friend of mine, and that opportunity opened up for him, and it was a no-brainer. I hadn't obviously I talked to Zach over there with the Huntsman, and we developed that relationship early in last summer, which actually started at the combine in Walpole. And yeah, I'm gonna miss Matt. I'm gonna miss Matt being here, and I know the players are too. But he deserves it, and he's gonna do a tremendous job. Matt's a guy that really, really cares about the players, and really cares about what he does. And I've never seen somebody bring so much passion to the game as a coach. Every day, every single day in and day out, morning and night. He brings so much passion to the sport, and he loves the game, and he cares about the players so much. And I think he's going to do a tremendous job up there. I'm excited. I don't want to go against him, and we made that joke when he got the job. Like now we have to play each other, and I don't want to go against him. I know his teams are going to be tough and they're going to be hard, and he's going to have the right systems in place, and he's going to do the right things for these boys. And the Huntsmen aren't going to be an easy team. That's another team, like we were saying earlier. Like, just makes our division a lot better having Matt a part of it. Full term and running a team. But they've done all the right things there, Jake. They really have. I think in training camp we had them come down here and spend some time with them and had both teams kind of intermingle, and we did like an inter squad scrimmage and really developed that relationship with Zach and Blaze, and got to know a lot of their players and get their players up here or down here for practices and give them opportunities like Arendi's. I think they started on the right foot. They had the right mentality. They're very positive. Zach is very positive and passionate, and I'm one of those guys. Like, if I can help out, I want to help out. It just makes our league better and stronger, and I saw that within him, and I wanted to do anything I could help. Any way I could help and be a part of them, and they can be a part of us. If that's what worked, that's what worked. And I think you dig into it a little bit deeper. Like, we developed that relationship to where, if we had player movement or anything like that, more so like his players are having success, give them the opportunity, because I'm all about that. I don't have a P team here, and I'm all about giving guys opportunities and giving them a home and giving them a shot. And, that was important for me to keep my word on that. And then, there was several players here, whether they needed some confidence, they needed some time. They were coming off an injury and needed to get some ice time and puck touches and log some minutes. They were open arms to it, and that's what was important. They kind of looked beyond the X's and O's when it came to wins and losses. They looked at, how do we help players, and how do we do the right things for players, and that's attractive. You want to be a part of an organization like that, and you want to be a part of people like that, and that was important to me. And I know it was important to Zach, and it worked out perfectly how it should. And and then at the end of the day, Reader's off to PA.
So shifting the conversation to you a bit, some people may not know that you do double duty working as an assistant coach with the Maryland Black Bears NAHL team. So how exactly do you manage it all? Because it seems like one team is enough for probably a lot of people.
Yeah, it's it gets hectic at times. And I credit the organization for a lot of it. And believe it or not, like this year, I haven't been a lot involved with the Black Bears. Just because they know what's on my plate and what I got going on. But like, we're one big group. If I ever needed a hand or needed help, they help me out with their staff. And we have a lot of staff members that do double duty. Amber Radke is our AT, and our equipment manager Nate, and Robin Remick, our president. Like, she's with both teams. Chris Rogers, our strength and conditioning coaches. Like, we help each other out in any way that we need. And this year was more just for me being eyes and ears, and showing up to games and kind of being a second opinion or a third opinion, or help out any way I need. So, in the past, like, yeah, it's been heavier duty, being on the ice and working both teams. But, I think, their success is, they're having a lot of success right now. And can't be more proud of the group that's in that room and in that facility, and I can't be more proud of the people that are all on board, and it's all hands on deck. And like I said, they make it easy. They make it easy, and that's our job at the end of the day, right? Like, we're hockey coaches, and we're doing it for a reason. So you find a way to make it work.
It wasn't your first time though doing the double duty, because you had to do that with
Yep.
Wilkes-Barre Scranton when you were coaching both Tier 3 and Tier 2. So has it ever been a challenge for you to sort of switch levels of hockey at the flip of a switch?
No. You treat the players the same way, and you do the same things. And obviously each team has a different need, or things are a little bit different at times. But really how you operate, and again, it's hockey, right? Like, I think something that, like I say all the time, I don't care that it's Tier 3 or Tier 2 or Division 1 college or Division 3 college or single A to the NHL. When it comes to pro hockey, you operate a certain way. And we expect our players to operate that way, and that's how we're going to operate as coaches. And if we're not operating that way as a coach, you can't expect that out of your players. So, pulling double duties, and this is part of the game, and it's part of the success that we have with the players, and it's part of the success that our players have. I say it a lot, like, it's a toolbox full of tools that we give you, and what you build with those tools is up to you. And we're the guys at the end of the day that are handling those tools. And I go back, like, to Wilkes-Barre, like, I think it was a lot more double duty. I was on the ice a lot more with that group, that NA team, but at the same time, there was, we had a smaller staff. We had a much smaller staff up there. We had a lot of success with our players. It was a little bit more hands-on, and a little bit more in depth with the players. And you look at the runs, like, before we had the EHL team, we had an NA3 team, and went to the finals with that team. And then the following year, we go to the finals. We lost in the first round with the EHL team, and that's where I was really, like, on the ice every single day with the NA team. And Tom Colwell gave me a role, and I was a part of it. And we ended up going to the Robertson Cup, and we lost to Shreveport. And then the following year with the EHL team, we go to Providence, and we lose. So, but the same thing, we had, Andrew Whiteside and Colwell jumping on the ice and the bench. Andrei Svichnov, he was a part of the organization, worked a lot with the youth and goaltending throughout the whole organization. Like, he was on the bench with me a lot, on the ice with me a lot. Right down to my dad. My dad would jump on and help out at times. So again, like, it's about family, it's about relationships, it's about everybody's on the same page and doing the right thing, and at the end of the day, it's doing the right thing for the players. And Clint could call me tonight and say, I need you on the ice tomorrow. I'm right there with the Bears. So that's just, that's how it goes, and that's what we're about, and we're about surrounding ourselves with the right people, and people that want it just as bad as the next guy.
So we will get to your dad in a little bit, and the University of Scranton. But first off, your first coaching gig was all the way in Texas. So, post college, did you always want to remain in the sport, and what brought you to Texas specifically?
Yeah, like, you always want to be a part of the sport, and you always want to play. So post college, like, I went over to Europe and to Finland with an agency, and spent some time over there playing. And then I was back in the Central States in camp with the Texas Brahmas, and Denver Cutthroats, and ended up in Danville in the Fed for a little bit. So, but believe it or not, after my sophomore year in college, I had a good buddy of mine that I played junior with. with Northern Cyclones and Helena Bighorns that owned a training facility. And I went down there. Me and a couple buddies from college ended up going down to Texas and spending the summer training. And that's kind of how I ended up in Texas at the end of the day. I'd go back in the off seasons and train. Like I said, I went to camp with the Brahmas and ended up back down there training. And then when it was kind of one of those things where it was all said and done, I was just working some hockey schools and kind of keeping around the game. And I got into the the off ice part of the game. And like, I won't lie, like, wasn't really sure, right? Like, wasn't really sure, like, what the avenue was or what you wanted to do. I ended up coming back east to be closer to family. And I had two buddies that were starting the Scranton program back up, University of Scranton. And I just kind of started as helping out, being a part of the game and being around the game. And next thing you know, it took off. I did coach 16U AAA in a high school team in Texas before that, the season before that. But that's kind of like what did it was, you're around the game and this is what your life is and this is what your passion is. And I made the move east and try to be closer to family, and the game kept following me. And that's kind of how I ended up where I'm at.
And your father ended up at Scranton with their ACHA team as well. So are there any things you've picked up from his coaching that are with you today?
Oh, man, you got to put me on the spot when he listens to this. I've learned everything from my dad. I really have. The passion, like, he was a 3-sport athlete in college, and he coached me a lot. Believe it or not, my dad really never coached me in hockey. It was kind of one of those things, like, I played high enough youth hockey where it was like your coach is your coach. And he kind of let it go. He coached my brother. He coached like a lot of my brother's teams. But my dad was really, like, when he coached me, like, believe it or not, I was actually a pretty good soccer player growing up, and he coached me a lot in soccer. But he let me play, and he was my biggest fan and my biggest supporter, and he was always passionate. He's very passionate about sports, especially New York sports. We won't get into that right now, but I think that's what carries everything with me is I'm very passionate about this sport and what I do, how you coach and how you do things. You do things with a lot of pride and you do things with passion. And something that used to say to me all the time is speed, knowledge, and desire. I was a fast player, so that was the speed, and then knowledge, being a student of the game and being smart. But the biggest one was desire, and what drives you and what's really deep down inside of you. And whether he's a fan or he was a coach, he did everything and he does everything 100 miles an hour and 100%. He gives 110%. And watching him coach, he coached junior hockey in Binghamton, New York, and I was still in band. I was in the way hockey kind of shaped up around that time was, they changed the birth year and everything. And I was on a junior development team and he was coaching it. And then he was also involved with the old Empire Junior League back in the day and was a coach with the Binghamton Tornado. And I'd get called up and, practice with them and played some games with them. And, just to see the passion that he brought to the table and everything that he put into it. I mean, I wanted to always play that way, and I'm going to coach the same way I played and really coach the way he coached. And he did the same thing at Scranton. My buddies had different paths in lives, and he didn't want to see that program go away. And, he retired, and he would come to every single game in Wilkes-Barre. He'd be around. He'd come to every NA game, every AHL game. He was around the player. He'd just come to practice and watch. And I said to him, why don't you do it again? it's, ACHA, and it's just for the passion and the love, and to watch him get on that ice and do what he did with that group. I mean, they went to division championships and conference championships. They went to the ACHA Nationals the one year. It's just, passion to the end, and it's special and pretty neat. And, that's what drives me. And that's what's deep down inside of me, is that passion and that desire. And that's from him.
And being in Scranton at that time, did it lead specifically to the position with the Knights, or was it kind of a matter of right place, right time?
Actually, it was kind of right place at the right time. I was there the year before, and I was helping Scranton out, the university, and the Knights had some changes, and we're making some changes. That was their first year in the NA. And I kind of knew Tom Colwell from previous, because he was in Texas previously, and we had some ties together with people. And again, the hockey world is small, and it kind of just ended up working out the way it worked out. And again, like going back to my dad, like that was the thing is, I sat there with him. I remember one night, and it was like, this is your passion, this is your love, and this is an opportunity, and who knows, and you never know where it could take you, and you got to try, right? And it's like I said earlier in the conversation tonight, it's about trusting the process. And me and Tom Cole had a conversation, and next thing you know, I'm coaching a 16U team there, and then I'm involved in the NA team, and then I'm getting a junior team. So, I think it's right place at the right time, but also putting in the work and showing what you can do and what you can bring to the table. And again, going back to the passion that was instilled in me by my dad. It's there, and you can't take that away from somebody. And you want people like that. And when you have people like that, you have success, right? So it kind of just worked out. And I think Tom Kowal for giving me that opportunity, and look where I'm at now.
And to finish up where we started from, in a previous interview, you said the off season is the toughest part of the year. That's where we are right now. So why do you think that is?
It can go both ways. It can be a lot of fun, and it can be tough. And I think it's just the way junior hockey is now, and the way hockey is as a whole. It's tough. You want what's best for the players, and I'm one of those guys that I'm never going to tell a kid no, and I'm never going to tell a kid don't go for it. So I think a lot of our recruitment and our guys that commit to us come later in the summer, later in the off season, and obviously, like, being a part of the Black Bears and Youngstown Phantoms and a couple other organizations, right? Like, things kind of just fall into place, and you got to kind of do your time and wait a little bit. But I think the reason why I say really why it's tough is I like to get to know my players. It's not about just watching video or going and watching them one time and making that commitment. It's getting to know them. It's getting to talk to the families. It's spending a lot of time on the phone. It's a lot of conversation. And it's a lot of there's a lot of work that goes into it. I'm not just going to hand a contract out to hand a contract out. And all these players, like, they have a goal, and that goal is to play college hockey. Whether it's Division I, Division III, whether it's an 05 you're talking to, or an HL player this year in 03, their goal is to play college hockey. And I want to get to know them. I want to know, what they want to do for school. I want to know, their grades. I want to know a little bit about them, a little bit about their background. Making sure that they fit in with the group that we have, making sure they fit in with our culture. And I say it a lot, like, there's a difference between playing hockey and being a hockey player. So maybe I make it tough on myself. I don't know, but It's the toughest part of the season because you're building a team. You're building a team, and you're putting a group of boys together, and the work never stops. Really, it doesn't. You're preparing for what are you going to do in training camp, and you're getting your apparel and your bus schedule and everything together, right? Like X's and O's when it comes to hockey is X's and O's when it comes to us coaches and GMs. Whether we're sitting at our kitchen table or at our office. So, I just, like I said, I'm passionate about this, and I very meticulous on things, and I like things being done the right way, and I treat it, every day is a work day, and I think that's maybe why it's tough, maybe why I said that.
And finally, to wrap things up, you have been to Providence before with Wilkes-Barre, but not yet with Maryland. So just this past year, one game, just a couple of goals away. How do you build on a fantastic year for Maryland?
Hey, you keep going. Like that's the best way to put it. Keep going. I'm excited, and maybe that's part of that last question is why the off season's tough, is because every year you go in and you want to do better. I want to do better. I want these players to do better. I want these players to be better. I want better players. I want to be, like I said, yeah, like selfishly, like you want to be at the top. And it's not a self pride thing. It's just who we are as a group. It's who we are as a league, and I think the biggest fuel there is, and I've said it in the past. I've been to an NA3 championship, lost, EHL championship, lost, Robertson Cup, lost. To come here to Maryland and start this from the ground up, make the playoffs every year, see the college commitment list grow every year. That's the ultimate pride and the ultimate success, and the numbers, right? Numbers don't lie. That's the success. But hey, look, we all say it. Yeah, it's about this and about that, but we all want a championship. And hey, we lost to a good team, and like I said, it was heartbreaking. But you also knew that you lost to somebody that deserved, right? You beat ProTech, and Terry Watt actually won't let me live it down, but you beat them, and then you knew you had a tough battle with the Little Flyers, and you look at what you did against the Rangers, and you look at what you did against the Avs. We lost 2-1. Both their goals were power play goals. You had some tough battles. That was a tough battle against Worcester. All year long. Like, we went back and forth with the 87s. We went back and forth with Walpole. Lost 2-1 or in a shootout to Walpole. So it's it could have went either way. But every year we've progressed. Every year we've progressed with numbers. Every year we've progressed. Getting that much closer to Providence. And I won't lie, like I went back and I looked at, Cooley's going to hate me for this, but I went back and I looked at when we beat the 87s there in Wilkes-Barre and made it to Providence. And I go back to even watching us win the East Division of the Robertson Cup, going to the Robertson Cup championship. But I look back at those and I watched those videos and I showed those to my players of what it takes and how hard it is. And, champions walk forever together, and I want to bring that to Maryland. I want to bring a championship team to Maryland. I want to have that champions walk together forever here, and I'm not going to stop, and maybe that's why my off seasons are long enough.
Well, we can't wait to see what you guys bring next year, and maybe we'll see championship photo with the best jerseys in the league. Who knows, right?
Hey, we got a fourth one coming.
Wow. Should have asked about that. But it's better to look at it than talk about it.
Yep, you'll see.
Thank you, Coach. Thank you for your time.
All right, buddy. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to The E-Show. Learn more at easternhockeyleague.org and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Also, be sure to subscribe and get notified when next week's podcast is released.